All right, let's see. I said I was going to do the other nodule. I took a little break and did some bifacing. Did some of these bifaces. It's starting to get overcast now, and the rain will be rolling in any time now. I need to get my lamp out. I want to do a lot of videos before the auction, so this is a good time to do it. But with the warmer weather, like once it gets above 85 degrees, the camera begins to overheat. The camera in the phone. And it shuts off, and I won't know it shut off, and I'll be talking to myself. Alright, so this looks pretty good actually. Now, can I preserve the whole thing? Well, let's see. Maybe I can preserve the whole length of this, but probably not. But you got 10 years experience, dude. What's the matter? It's the problem. What is the problem? Well, for you guys that ask me those kind of things, just assume I'm stupid. Easy. For everybody else, I don't want to take forever with this stuff. You mean the longer you take, the better it gets? Yeah, if you're patient with it, you know, if you just nibble at it here and there, and then set up some really good platforms, and you know, work on some other stuff before you get back to this, and try it. Try your techniques you just practiced on, and ooh, nice long flake. Put it down. Okay, calm down. Let's practice on something else over there. Okay, let's get back into the groove. Pick it back up. Pow, nice flake. Okay, calm down. Put it down. You can do a structure like that, and I think that might work. But I don't nap that way. I don't know if it's productive to nap that way unless you're into only the aspect of the activity itself. You're not really concerned about replicating, doing it the way they used to do it. In other words, you're not really concerned about how pretty things look as far as how well they match artifacts. How well your work matches artifacts. There's two different things there. You can do it the way they used to do it, or what you think they did, but not match the artifacts. Or there's a way you can match the artifacts using totally different methods than you think might have been used. Right? There's a difference there. If you're solely concerned with the technique and the technology, like if you want to do that over and over and over again, you can practice that particular thing slowly. Okay, I got a good one. All right, collect your thoughts. Let's see. Don't get too excited. Don't get too cocky. Look at the next platform. Don't say, that's good enough. No, actually physically look at each platform. Analyze. Let's overload the subconscious, like I was saying in the last video. Let's overload the subconscious and see what I did. There's a concavity here, but I still got a good flake. So it doesn't mean doesn't mean that I have to have a concavity. So yeah, a lot of these will work. Maybe not. Maybe it's the angle of force combined with the impact site that can bypass the concavity somehow. How did that work with the concavity? You know, that might have just been luck. But you're thinking, it's a special technique. Yeah. No, it might have just been luck. I recommend always have a convexity after the platform. But the way I nap, I don't really care. Right? For myself. That much. Let's see. I do want to preserve as much as I can, just for the video, just for you guys who are lost. And I totally understand. You're lost as to what is required. What do I need to do? I mean, there's got to be a system. There's got to be a strategy. There's got to be a ground zero. There's got to be a frame of reference, something I can ground myself to with a 16,000-pound anchor. Right? What can I ground myself to that'll give me results? And I can just refer to that baseline every time. Baseline, baseline. What is the baseline? And we can build from there. Well, I wish I could tell you exactly what the baseline is. I can tell you that you're doing the right thing by watching the video. I would say that would be the baseline. You're watching someone do it, because that's the first part of monkey see, monkey do. Monkey see. Monkey see? Okay. Monkey do. Did you see that? Did you see how I did that? Try to do it. Okay, that's baseline. Oh, I can't do it. Okay, now we're getting into a feedback loop. Well, tell me what you did wrong and I'll try to correct it. Or watch more videos and see how I can correct it, or how I correct myself if I make a mistake. Why did I do that? Because I like these little spalls. Okay. Did I lose some length? Yep, I sure did. But, you know, I'd rather have these little spalls than to try to preserve the whole thing. You know, I'd like to have a lot of these little ones. But that's me, you know. It does still preserve the length, because the strategy overall is to thin the ends first and then work on the middle. That's part of thinning the end. Kind of, sort of. All right. Let's see. I could get into some philosophizing in this video, since I'll just be spalling and depending mainly on the subconscious to do the swings. Not too much thinking involved here. So, for those of you who are into determinism, either psychological or physical or whatever, you're going to say, now hold on a second. The subconscious controls everything. It makes the decisions. If we had a machine that could read your subconscious, it would know what you're going to do before you're conscious of it. Some of you guys out there are listening to pseudo-intellectuals. Yes, I said pseudo-intellectuals when you come up with stuff like that. Why do I say pseudo-intellectual? Well, if you're a serious neuroscience student, you'll know, you realize, or you're being taught, that the subconscious cannot understand everything. If you're assuming that the subconscious understands and makes decisions before you're conscious of them, you're assuming that the subconscious understands everything. Now, serious students of the mind know that the subconscious does not understand everything. So how can it make a decision on something it doesn't understand? Well, it just makes a decision anyway. It just makes a decision. Okay, regardless of whether it understands or not. Yeah, well, what about the times where you're confused, you can't make a decision? Where is the subconscious? Is it on lunch break? They decide to check out for a second. I'll be back in a minute. Wait, I'm trying to make a decision. Where are you? And you can't make a decision. There'd be no reason why you're stumped. I don't know what to do. Your subconscious would make the decision if that was the case. If the subconscious made the decisions, you wouldn't have the issue of, I can't make my mind up. It's simple, right? The subconscious doesn't understand everything. So it can't make the decisions all the time, which is good. You don't want the subconscious to make the decisions all the time. That would be terrible. Why? Because the conscious mind is what has access to stimulus. Right? Now, does the subconscious have direct access to stimulus? Only within itself, yes. Within itself, like within dreams and so forth. You can create stimulus within itself, but it doesn't react to the external stimulus or reality. Not like the conscious mind does. Conscious mind is built to take in sensory perceptions, process them. Okay, now the conscious mind doesn't understand everything either. So I'm not saying the conscious mind makes all the decisions, because it doesn't. But why am I even discussing this when I'm doing flint napping? Because it affects flint napping. It's part of the V'ger effect on how to answer flint napping questions. If you're not able to flint nap, why? Why aren't you able to flint nap? Why is it so hard for you to get? Why is it so hard for some people and not for others? Well, part of the reason is the way you're using your mind. If you have an authoritarian bent, let's get into some politics. If you are an authoritarian, or you have that bent or that proclivity, control is the thing. You don't have enough control. You can't flint nap because you're just not capable of the amount of control required. If you were able to control it, there'd be no problem. It's all about control. And yeah, they're not wrong. It is all about control. The issue is who and what is doing the controlling. Because if you don't know that, you're going to have a hard time with anything. You're going to be confused. You're going to give up. You're not going to know where to go or what to do. And if you do, if you start, okay, I'm not gonna think about it. I'm gonna let my emotions take over, let my intuitions take over, let the subconscious take over everything. Because I just don't know consciously. I can't make up decisions that way, so I'll just let my subconscious make decisions. And you get into the mood napping, anger. You let your anger go just by itself. Let it run amok, and you just say, I'm just going to let the forces of determinism take over. I'll just be a reaction machine. Just like the pseudo-intellectuals are thinking. Just a reaction machine. All I do is reacting. Yeah, you can nap that way, but you're not going to get very far. Part of the beauty of the human mind is that it is a machine that learns. It's a machine that can recognize reality. The stimulus from reality can be interpreted, processed, and the mind can adapt its activities to produce something worthwhile in reality. Not simply in the mind. Not with just simply a mind experiment or a thought experiment. How do I know it's reality? You'll know very quick when it's reality when it becomes a life and death situation. That's basically the only way to know it's reality. If it's a life and death situation, then it's reality. If you don't learn how to shoot and kill your food, or shoot and kill threats to your life, oh well, no more life. I Guess that was reality. Too late then. Okay, so I kind of preserved the length. Right, now it's hard because I could snap it in half. I could snap it in half. Alright. Now I'll just continue with this because I've done many of these. So, as far as determinism goes, yes, most things are deterministic. But life has this funny ability, life itself, just life in general, life forms, the miracle of life, whatever you want to call it. It allows us to have some autonomy. Is it complete autonomy? No. Are we subject to deterministic forces? Yes. But the earth did not produce arrowheads. When you see arrowhead artifacts, it wasn't a sequence of cause and effects. Right? Something had to make the arrowhead look the way it did. It wasn't the rocks themselves. It wasn't the earth. It was life forms, living things making changes to the environment. Now, where am I going with this? Well, life is a funny thing because not only is it affected by things that did happen, it's affected by things that didn't happen. Well, everything is like that. Yes, but it doesn't really have any real consequences. If something doesn't happen out in the universe that's just non-living, it doesn't really matter. But when you're talking about survival and something doesn't happen, that has a direct impact on your survival. Okay, well, what do you mean by that? Just what do you mean exactly? Well, let's say that I'm successful in making a knife out of this, and a wolf comes into the camp and is about to grab one of my children. And I ended up putting this on the end of a spear, and I'm sitting there with a spear, and this is going to be a big blade. The wolf is about to grab my child. The child is unaware for whatever reason. I shoot the spear, hit the wolf, and it either kills it or runs away. Something happens, right? Well, what didn't happen? Well, it didn't take my child. Now, did I cause my child? I saved my child's life, in other words. But did I cause my child's life to continue? No. I just removed an imminent threat. But I did not cause the continuation of my child's life. I just removed something from the current situation so that my child's life can continue. But that's on a separate deterministic path. The child's life is a separate path than what I did with the wolf. So life not only is dependent on causes that affect it directly, but things that don't affect it. And we are concerned many times with interrupting what could cause our deaths. We are interrupting all the time things that could cause our deaths. Directly, you can see a cause and effect if it's a direct interference, like removal of an arrowhead from your leg to prevent infection. It's a direct cause of the continuation of the healing process, right? We are part of the healing process in that case. We physically remove the arrowhead. The body would try to remove it itself by trying to expel it through all the fluids and stuff that come out. But if we do it, we're assisting in that. So that's pretty deterministic, you know. But if we shoot the guy who's about to shoot us, that's indirectly affecting us. And that is a big concern. Prevention is a big aspect of life preservation. What does that have to do with flint knapping? It has a lot to do with why we create tools. To prevent our deaths. To prevent things from happening. To interfere with things that are on a separate cause and effect timeline, but it does affect us if it were to intersect. We prevent the intersection. Okay? Alright. So I need to thin the ends down. I probably need to work on this side. I'm afraid now because this stone is raw, I believe. It's very nice, actually. I could snap it in half by hitting that easily. I took a little bit too much off with some of these hits, but I wanted to clear out some of those things. Yeah, alright. I need to be very careful. Okay. I'm going to put my finger on the tip. Now let's see. Yeah. Did I want to do a long flake or did I just test it? No, I wanted to do a long flake. That's not good. Yeah, better. Okay, let's see. In this case, I do need support, right? Just in case. Yeah, that's not, the angle is kind of difficult. I am going to gouge it. I'm not going to swipe it. So it's pretty thick. I want a bulb of percussion in there. Swiping minimizes the bulb. Okay. Gouging doesn't. Alright, so I need a big bulb in there to get rid of this. I don't want to just skim over the top because it'll still be bulgy. Yeah, that's good. Alright, so I wanted to use the bulb of percussion to gouge that out. Alright. Let me see. Could I switch to indirect at this point? Indirect percussion? Maybe. Yeah, I mean I could. Of course I could. But it would just take little, comparatively small flakes. Do I still want to remove some big flakes? Yeah, I kind of do. There's still some areas that need to be addressed that are kind of thick. And indirect percussion is going to be hard pressed to get rid of big bulgy areas like this. Now, on my technique, another thing I take for granted is that I don't always say my technique adjusts itself to the edge. I don't usually adjust the edge to my technique. So, usually. What I mean by that is I look for opportunities. So, if I see an opportunity, it doesn't mean that it's a perfect opportunity. I may have to switch around the way I hit, the way I hold, the way I'm supporting, and the way I'm striking in order to deal with it opportunistically. I don't shape that to where I'm going to hold it perfectly horizontal, hit it at a perfect 30 degree angle or whatever it is. I can do it that way, but I don't nap that way. I don't adjust the edge to my technique. I adjust my technique to the edge in most cases. Predominantly, I think that's what I do. I could go back and do a proper analysis and maybe it's 50-50. Maybe it's a combination of the two. Sometimes I'll have a slight variation in my technique, but I'll adjust it so that I don't have to deviate from the norm too much. And the norm is just after thousands of hits you have an average in your mind. Your subconscious has an average in there. And your conscious mind does too after a while. It understands what the average position is. If you deviate from the average position, you can tell as well. Mind is a beautiful thing. Okay. So what I did there is just strengthen opportunities by removing weak spots. I can see opportunities. They're not ideal. I have to adjust slightly. Yeah, that one's precarious. That's why I'm kind of hesitant. Yeah, okay. That's what I wanted, right? But man, I'm sweating right now. Okay. It's a high stressful hit. High stress. Now I'm going to slide because I just want a shallow flake. Like that. Still highly stressful. You know, that shouldn't go too far in. I'm not too worried about that, but I'm worried about stuff like this opening up. Why don't I get rid of that? Because I'd rather have the mass. You know, mass helps with the flaking for some reason. It's got to do with the physics, you know, the momentum, the resistance to the force, and all that kind of stuff. You know, the more the workpiece resists the impact, the more of the force of the impact travels with the flake. If it's bouncing around everywhere, if it's really light, some of that force is dissipated and it doesn't accompany the fracture. Okay, it goes other places. So I like to have mass because it helps to keep the force with the flake, so I don't have to, you know, use a lot of speed or whatever. I can also not have to use so much accuracy. But I'm going to have to adjust the edge because I don't see a good opportunity. You know, and I like the opportunistic way of doing it because let's say I try to adjust the edge for the perfect hit and I make a mistake. What do I do if I'm the kind of napper that only hits what is properly created? I miss my opportunity. I say, well, I can't hit there now. Oh well. Being opportunistic, you can say, I can still hit it. Let's see what happens. I'm opportunistic. I'll adjust my technique a little bit and see if I can have an effect. Might not be a good effect, but it's still an effect. It's not too bad. All right? Opportunistic and good enough. Did they used to do that in the past? Oh, yes. If you study artifacts, you'll know. Why did they do that? Why did they risk that? Why is the blade all wonky? Why is it scooped out in the middle or scooped out in these areas and they still used it? Don't they know it's weak? Don't they know it's ugly? Yep, they sure do. They go, oh well. It's a conscious decision. Because if it was strictly based on the mechanical interpretation, they didn't flake right. It's not useful. Doesn't match the path or the pattern. Can't use it. We're not that rigid. The mind doesn't have to be that rigid. We don't have to be that rigid. The stone doesn't tell us what to do. Still use it. Manage the risk. Which means we think about we have a backup plan. You know, we take the risk into account. Like, what will happen if it doesn't work? Plan B, or what can I use to supplement the success somehow? Supplement it. Add something to make it successful. You know, that kind of thing. Okay. Doesn't have to be rigid. Whereas if it was a machine, you'd be waiting for instructions because it would be told, you know, don't continue if it's messed up. Basically. and the machine just waits for instructions on what to do. Because you really don't want a machine to continue if it has messed up somehow, or if there's an accident, or there's something weird. They want it to stop, because these accidents and these weirdnesses and all these other things can compound the screw up if it continues, if the machine just continues. All right. But with a human mind, we can continue and then make little changes here and there, make it work. Decide that, yeah, with this and this and this, I can work with it. If I add this here, or if I take away this here, if I use it for something else, I can work with it. All right. Or whatever. Okay. All right, good enough. I probably use indirect, and I'm out of time. All right. Okay. I'll show you a little bit of what it looks like. Do real artifacts look like this? Yes, they do, but not as much grinding in most cases. Okay.